Happy Halloween. Look at those Halloween colors. That's totally amazing. And this is not even planned, really. I mean, I don't think they decorated this corner of this area with these colors with Halloween in mind. Obviously, these pieces of furniture are here year round. But today is Wednesday, October 30th. Halloween is tomorrow. And I just happened to be here again in one of my favorite spots to hang out, have some coffee, and get work done. And lo and behold, I happen to be sitting in a corner that has the most amazing set of Halloween colors. I think the only color that's missing right now is maybe like dark purple, but black and orange are certainly Halloweenish, and so is white. I guess white is kind of a Halloween color now with those white pumpkins that you see everywhere. Um, and I am just having a great evening. This is just amazing. I don't even know what's going on because I have only had about 3.5 hours of sleep last night. Had to wake up very early for work, but also was supposed to go to the court and issue some subpoenas to witnesses and for documents in a case that my landlord has against my tenancy right now, which is a bit of a joke because they're claiming I did not pay the rent, but I did. I multiply tried to pay the rent over and over and over, and they were refusing my payments and my attempts at paying the rent because it was not out of pocket cash, which is kind of illegal. I mean, you're not supposed to discriminate against tenants in Massachusetts based upon their method of paying the rent. Dictating to tenants that they have to pay cash out of pocket and that is all you're going to accept is a bit of a joke, especially after the pandemic when so many people lost their jobs and were reliant on third-party funding to help them supplement their rental payments. Anyway, I should be tearing my hair out and, stabbing my eyeballs out with a pen because I've been reading case law for 7 days now, but I'm not. I'm having a great evening and I really desperately need a coffee. That's my espresso shot right there, which is like a tall one. And I might need another one after that. Um, but I don't know. I'm having a really great evening in spite of everything. Had a great day at work. Maybe it has something to do with me being well dressed for once. I'm not slouching around my ratty little rat hole of an apartment. Right now it's a cockroach hole because there's so many cockroaches in it that they're just literally running across my bed at night. And the landlord is sort of wiping their hands clean of that situation, saying, well, we sent the exterminator a week ago. Well, you did, but I don't even know if he sprayed for cockroaches. He put down some traps. He looked behind the bed. He looked behind the fridge. And then he left. I don't know what he did, but the cockroaches are still around. So, when they only treat my apartment and do not treat any other of the surrounding units with extermination measures, then the pests are going to come back, right? That's just how pests work. Mice, cockroaches, bed bugs, they travel from one apartment to the next. And because these are not even apartments, they're single occupancy units, they're just one room, then the cockroaches and the mice are going to travel even more quickly from one unit to the next. And so far, the landlord has only paid for an extermination in my apartment. And because they've treated my apartment several times and the pests keep coming back, they are not coming from inside my apartment. They're coming from outside my apartment in the other units that have not yet been treated. And they probably won't be treated because this is a negligent slumlord that literally does everything on the cheap. They don't want to pay for a full building extermination, which is what all effective extermination requires. You need to do the whole building, not just one corner of one small apartment on the top floor, okay? That doesn't work, obviously. They're just negligent and they do everything super cheap so that they don't have to pay extra for anything. And then it doesn't work and then you wonder why it doesn't work. But that's not why I'm making this video. I'm making this video, A, because I had a great day at work and I'm nicely dressed. I'm dressed like a school teacher, actually. Cardigan, black skirt, sweater, black everything, really. Having a coffee, enjoying a quiet evening here in one of my favorite hangout spots. I come here to do work, not to meet people or anything. And thankfully, most of the people in this immediate environment are minding their own business and they're here to do work too. This is a very functional, well lit, comfortable, upbeat kind of place where the people who hang out here are focused on their work, on their business obligations, and their, you know, goals, right? It's a very goal oriented environment, which is what I like. I like goal oriented environments. That's how I've always lived my life, goal oriented. I basically started college at age 17. I graduated at 21 with a Bachelor of Science degree in biological sciences and a completed graduate thesis. I then worked at Harvard Medical School, was hired at Harvard Medical School within a few months of my college graduation with a Bachelor of Science degree, and worked at Harvard Medical School as a research associate for a total of 14 years, 9 of them in the lab of one of the pioneering researchers in the field of tumor biology and angiogenesis, Dr. Harold Dvorak. Then I went to Dr. Shapiro's lab at Dana-Farber, and Dr. Shapiro was the clinical director of Dana-Farber at the time that I was working in his lab. I worked in his lab for 5 years. That is a total of 14 years at Harvard Medical School. Then I went over to Biogen Idec as a research associate at the master's level, because at that time I had completed 6 years of a full-time PhD program in clinical psychology. And while I was working as a research associate at Harvard Medical School, I was also in a full-time PhD program for clinical psychology. So I was juggling a lot of obligations, and that is how I've always lived my life, goal-oriented, juggling a lot of stuff, and usually able to meet all of my obligations in terms of financial responsibilities, professional needs and to-dos, and then social obligations as well. I've always been a very social person, have had a lot of friends, known a lot of people, had a lot of business contacts, etc. And no, I'm not talking about dating or sleeping around. I do not do that. I've always been very picky with who I date. And right now, Tom Brady is the only man I can possibly think of that I might consider dating in the Boston area. There's nobody else. Tom Brady or nobody. Okay. So that's how picky I am. If Tom Brady cloned himself and showed up at my door, I would not be sad. Let's put it that way. I will take a Tom Brady clone anytime. But aside from Tom Brady, I'm not really sure, who else I would be interested in, which is pretty much nobody. So I've always lived my life that way. Goal-oriented, focused on the highest that I can possibly get of anything. That includes jobs, that includes education. I went all the way to the PhD level, finished 6 years of a full-time PhD program, but did not finish the PhD program. So the PhD program was pretty much 8 or 9 years full-time, and I just was out of steam after 6 years. I could not do another 2 or 3 years in that program. It was too much. I was financially massively in debt with $125,000 worth of student loans. And that's why I live in the building where I live now. Ironically enough, because of my PhD program in clinical psychology, I was so far in the hole in terms of student loan debt that I had to move into a building that was about as cheap as you could possibly get. But hey, it's a block from the subway. And when you don't own a car and you don't drive, and now I'm legally blind, and I certainly can't drive now, then living a block from the subway, it's priceless, right? I'm having a fabulous evening. I've already said this. I'm not sure why. It could be because Halloween is tomorrow, and there's just a super exciting Halloween kind of feel all around. Everything feels very autumnal, very exciting. I don't go trick-or-treating anymore. I do have nieces and nephews who do go trick-or-treating, and they do dress up. I'm not sure if I'm going to see them tomorrow. They don't live too far away because, again, I'm representing myself. I am an attorney pro se, basically, like for myself. And I have to get up to speed with all the legal obligations and laws and cases and citations and things like that. So trick-or-treating with my nieces and nephews, probably not on the table for tomorrow, but I'm still excited about Halloween. And it is one of my very favorite holidays. I cannot get enough of Halloween. Love it, love it, love it. And again, I should be wiped out, exhausted after just 3.5 hours of sleep. And, but I'm not. And, this is 52, guys. Okay. I'm 52. I used to think 52 or 50 or even 45 were really, really old, like so ancient that you should be passed out at the end of a day with just 3.5 hours of sleep if you're 45 or over. But you know what? That's not how it is. I'm 52. I feel exactly the way I did when I was 40 or even 38. I have more energy now than I did when I was 40. I know it sounds weird, but a lot of it does not have anything to do with age. It has a lot to do with the condition of your body at any point in your life. And when I reached the end of my 30s, I was completely flat out burned out from going and going and going for years. And I was working 65 hours a week at my last full time scientific position and burned out, right? You can't do 65, 70 hours a week for over 2, 3 years in the biotech sector and not completely burn out and never ever want to see the inside of a laboratory again, which is kind of where I was when I left my last scientific position as a senior associate scientist for a startup biopharmaceutical company in Cambridge. I was just done. I was wiped out. My boss, when I first started at that job, was like, okay, do as much as you need to. We need to get this project off the ground, blah, blah, blah. So I did. I was doing 68, 70 hours a week. And then he told me I was working too many hours and that I needed to cut back to 59 hours a week. So when your boss tells you to cut it back to 59 hours a week, then maybe you're working too much and you should pace yourself. The good news from that last position of me being in the scientific research field was that I co-authored 4 scientific studies within a year and a half, which is like a record. And my name is still on those scientific studies that are published globally in some of the highest end scientific journals on the planet. So anybody who wants to can just Google that. Journal of Cancer Research, Laboratory Investigation, etc. My name is on those research studies as a co-author, 2011 and 2012, I believe. So Google it, haters, and then go choke on it, haters. These stupid idiots who say that I'm schizophrenic, delusional, and haven't worked in years. No, I have. I've been working consistently ever since the pandemic and before the pandemic. The only time I didn't work was during the pandemic and after the pandemic, but a lot of people were out of work at that time. And millions of people all over the place were trying to look for jobs after they lost their jobs due to COVID, right? COVID was like the biggest mass unemployment situation on the planet. And people who say, oh, well, she doesn't work. Well, I did up until COVID, and I've worked since COVID. I did not work during COVID, just like millions and millions of other people. So choke on it, haters. Go jump out of a window, haters. I think there's a cliff with your name on it, haters, right? Anyway, I'm just having a great Halloweeny kind of evening tonight, and I'm going to hammer out a couple of motions and just have fun doing it. So yay, Halloween.